little video of my Traynor TS-50B. This is a model that Traynor released sometime in the early to mid 80s. I don't exactly know all the details. I'm sure it can be Googleable if anybody cares. But these used to be everywhere in Canada, and I think a lot of them ended up in landfills. A lot of people way back when didn't realize what the whole purpose of these things were, and now there's been quite a resurgence of people who really dig these things. I really like it. So anyway, just thought I'd show off some of what it can do really quick. There's not a lot of videos with half decent sound, so here we go. It's sitting on top of the original matching 215 Traynor cab. Would have originally come with Marsland speakers, if I remember correctly. Those are long gone. These have been replaced with a set of Altex. I'll throw a picture of them somewhere in this video. Great sounding speakers, really mid-present though. Now that being said, this head's also pretty mid-present. So we'll just kind of dive in here. I'm just using a Fender P bass, so everybody knows what it sounds like. I'm gonna bring both the P and the J up to full, so it's just, but right, nice round. The kind of things that I'm into, like that would be my usual probably go-to tone out of this if I had to use it on a regular basis. Cool, right? Now that's not, but the funny thing about this is when the EQ, what we're doing with the EQ to get it like this. Gain's only at 3, mids are at 1. Bass is at about 6.5, and trebles at 4. Right? Now, as soon as you start rolling mids in on this thing, you start rolling in gain as well. It's just the way this amp works. So we'll roll the mids up to, let's say, maybe 3 and a bit. See? And if you decide you want more mids than that, you're going to end up with way more gain. So let's just crank it up to 7. Not that I would ever recommend this, but you've got... And that's with the gain at 3 on the normal input. It's just... Alright, very cool. Well, let's roll those mids back down to, that 3.5 mark again. But we'll roll up the gain to, let's say, maybe 5. Cool, right? Like it's... Really, really nice mid-present. Very, very cool. I like nice, meaty, just... But the neat thing about this is, let's roll those back to kind of where I had it before. So we're going to roll those mids back down to the 1. Or the gain, sorry. We're going to roll that gain back down to the 3 mark. We're going to roll those mids back down to the 1 mark. Bass will stay the same, treble will stay the same, just for reference. But the beauty on these heads is the boost circuit. It is the coolest fuzz I've ever, this is my favorite fuzz. Just, you fire this up from that nice, clean, and we're... Right? And that's, once again, the mids are sitting at 1 right now. We crank these up, just like before, you're going to start getting even more gain. So let's crank this up to that mids at 4. This is where this thing shines, is that wonderful fuzz circuit that is labeled as a boost. I think if they would have labeled this as a fuzz, everybody would have understood this amp more. But most guys came in with 50 watt amp, because that's all it is. It's a little 50 watt amp. Doesn't get super loud on its own. I mean, with the 215, if you don't mind the gain, because as you crank this up, you get some power out, like the power amp adds more gain. They were trying to do some early tube emulation thing, but yeah, as you crank the volume up, you get some more other gain. We'll get to that in a bit. But yeah, this thing, because it's not very loud, if you were playing this with a 115 and most guys would look, oh, boost, turn it on, figuring they were going to get more volume, and you do a little bit, but no, it's just this big, nasty fuzz. Now, we're still only sitting at a gain of 3 and a mid of 4. If we go and crank this gain up, let's crank the gain up to like, let's get crazy. Let's go to 6.5. It is the coolest circuit. It's just thick and gross and in your face. With all these mids. And mids still are only sitting at 4. If we crank those up to, let's go crazy, 7. But that combined with a clean signal, like a clean Sans amp, a clean basement kind of tone, and it just you're instantly into awesome punk and metal tones for days. It's just I love it. I love it. Crank that back down to that kind of 4 on the gain. We'll crank the mids back down to the 4. This is where I kind of like the fuzz on this. It's just down to that 1 point. It's thick. The mids pop out on almost every note. Very, very cool fuzz. And that's what's made these things really popular again. And now they're almost impossible to find when you're looking. But they're fun. If you crank the boost back off to that initial crank up the volume, and I'm going to show you how this changes things once again. So we're going to crank that volume up to, let's say, 6. Right? Crank it down to just 4.5. Remember, before we were sitting at 3, right? So here's it at 4.5. See what it's doing? Or you crank it back down to that 3. The amp is never clean. That's what I want to make everybody sure on. I'm playing an average P bass. I mean, it's pretty, it's an FSR, but it's a P bass with a J. Turn the J off. There's just the P. Cool, right? It's just nifty. Now, if we throw the boost back on, we'll crank that back up to that 5 point. We'll crank the mids back up to the 4. We'll leave the mid bass in treble the same way. Once again, showing what the with the boost and a little bit of extra volume and a little bit extra mids, and you get this. Right? It's just easily. Thick. I've probably said thick a million times here, and I'm realizing that. That's the easiest way for me to describe it, in case it's not. I know the mids are going to come through on the mic. I don't know what the low end of this thing's going to sound like, and 90% of you people are going to be listening to it on your phone anyway, and you're not going to hear any of the bottom end anyway. Which is why I'm trying to get across just how big this actually is in the room. As the volume comes up, you lose the definition, just like a real fuzz, on both ends of the gain spectrum. But it's fun. It's fun out. So I'm just gonna let's turn that back down to where I. And let's turn the jazz bass pickup back up to full once again. Now, if you really wanted this thing to try and stay clean, which I don't recommend anybody getting one of these for that purpose, there is a padded input. So if you crank your gain back down to about maybe 3, you can get the... However, this does instantly introduce a lot more mids. Once again, mids, I'm going to try taking these down to the 1 again. So, in a nutshell, that's what this thing's going to do. It will clean up. It gets a lot quieter. Once you crank that up, you crank your master volume back up, you start introducing more of that gain on the back half. So let's say we bring that up to bring the normal or the low input channel up to be about the same volume as it was in the room. And now you can hear where that gain is. The gain from this sits in the low end. So it almost makes things sound flubby. Your mids aren't as affected. Whereas you crank this up now, there's that upper mid snarl. So those combined, once again, really cool, but it sure as heck ain't clean. This thing doesn't do cleans. Now, if you want a fuzzy, snarly SVT sounding like it's going to explode kind of tone, that's what makes these things cool. It's annoying hearing the same riffs over and over and over again. I'm sorry, but for consistency's sake, so you've got some sort of an idea as to what the different things are going on here. That's why I'm doing it. Anyway, I'll wrap it up because we're probably already gone way too long, and I bet you most people gave up and are no longer listening. And that's fine. So thank you one and all for anybody that bothered to actually sit down and listen to the whole thing. Hope you enjoyed it. At least now there's some more YouTube content with the TS-50B in it and with some decent audio. And yeah, if one pops up locally to you, I highly recommend grabbing one if you can find one cheap, because the prices on these things keep going up and up and up. Yeah. In Canada, they're starting to get hard to find, so I can only imagine if you're in the U.S. trying to grab one of these things. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Have a great day.